so heads up our science programs. We've also got Amelia with us today. So Amelia's from Girls High, so she's a gateway student who comes in every Tuesday with us at the moment, so it's great having Amelia here as well. So how many of you were here, came to the Stratford farm? Okay, that's good. Still a few newbies, which is good. So I'll give a bit of a quick overview. Sorry for you guys that came to Stratford as well, but a bit of an overview of the whole business. So this is one of 4 farms. So we also have a farm in Stratford, right by the high school, and we have 2 farms in Harwood as well, which go around the dairy factory. And across those 4 farms, we're doing a mix of science and research and demonstration trials, looking at things like lower environmental footprint, net zero emissions, lower nitrogen leaching, and this farm here we were looking at diverse pastures. So
cool. So yeah, welcome to Waimate West. So what we're doing here is a diverse pasture trial. So this is just like a really quick overview of what we're trying to do here with this trial. So we have a two farmlets set up. Like one is just a conventional ryegrass clover system, the other one is our diverse pastures. And what we're trying to do is like we're comparing them in terms of profitability and production. So you know, what do the diverse pastures, what effect do they have on the milk production of the cows, and what effect does that have on the bottom line of the business. We're also looking at environmental factors, so there is claims around that diverse pastures are a lot better in all sorts of ways, like that they increase the soil carbon, they're better for the soil biology. So we're looking into those claims and trying to put some scientific measurements behind that, and then also the well-being and the values. So looking at how is it perceived by the community, by the customer, more importantly, are customers actually prepared to pay like a premium price for like milk that's produced in a more sustainable and environmentally friendly way. So that's what we're looking at. This farm is an autumn calving farm, so they have just finished the 2nd year of calving here. And so yeah, we're just starting the 2nd season of this trial. And this is just to give you an overview. So this is the map of the farm, and you can see those 2 different farmlets. So the conventional farmlet is the green one, and the diverse is the yellow. So it would have been easy, to just split the farm down the middle, say this farmlet is diverse, this farmlet is conventional. But obviously, we have to keep it comparable. So these paddocks are sorted into the different farmlets depending on their soil fertility, soil tests, and all those kind of things at the start of the trial, so that we can really say yes, those 2 farmlets are, they have the same starting point, they're completely comparable, and any differences that we will see throughout the trial are really due to the different practices and the pastures. This is just a quick overview of what's happening on those farmlets. The big things to point out is just the difference in the fertilizer. So, conventional is just getting the standard synthetic fertilizer. That's for capital food, and the diverse, they're getting Osflow, so that's chicken shit. Sorry. Chicken manure. So obviously that's really, really high in nutrients, and that's spread onto those diverse paddocks, and so we're getting those nutrients like the P, K, and S nutrients, we're getting them through the chicken manure instead of synthetic. And then obviously the other difference here is the pastures. Conventional is just the standard ryegrass clover pastures that you see on 90% of New Zealand dairy farms, and on the diverse we have 13 different pasture species in the mix. And this gives you an idea what's in that mix. So these are all the different cultivars that are in there. And these are just pictures of, so this is plantain, chicory, we have some rowan here, all sorts of different clovers. This is timothy, another grass. And what it does is like they all have, they all add different benefits to the mix. So chicory has like a really long taproot, so chicories can grow deeper into the soil. It can make your pastures more drought resistant because when it gets dry in the summer, you know, the chicory is still able to draw with the longer root. It can tap deeper into the ground and reach deeper water. So all these have different roles and benefits that they add to the mix here. This is the suction cup, so the guys that have been at Stratford, they know that already, but that's what we're doing here on this farm as well. And what it does, these are little cups and they're buried in the ground, and there's a little ceramic cup here, and then it's connected to the soil surface with like a little tube, comes out here, and what we do is we put a little vacuum onto that tube, and then the vacuum draws all the water that's in the soil around that cup, it draws it into the cup. Then we can put a syringe on here, draw the water out of it, and then we can sample it and look how much nitrogen is in that soil water, and that gives us an indication of, you know, how much nitrogen is leached into the soil water. So that's a really big issue. Nitrogen leaching, because what it does is if we have too much nitrogen leached into our groundwater, it goes into the rivers and it goes into the lakes. It stimulates the growth of algae, and that's then obviously not good for the fish and, you know, all the species in the water. The other thing that's important here is like this cup needs to sit below the root level. So these cups here at Waimate are actually deeper than the ones at Stratford, because what I just said was, you know, the diverse pastures, they have deeper rooting species. So we need to put the cups down deeper to make sure we're actually below the root zone, because then we can be sure that all the nitrogen that we're capturing here is actually nitrogen that's going to pass the roots and it's truly leached, because it won't be able to be taken up by the plants anymore. I've been digging up a few of those species. So this is, I didn't manage to get a whole root, but this gives you a good idea about, you know, that big taproot that the chicory has. So it broke off in both cases, but it has really, really big and long taproot, and it goes down deep into the ground, and then, you know, it can pull up that moisture if it gets dry down the bottom. Also there's quite a few worms around here when we dig the hole, so what we're also looking at is, you know, just the soil. So this is obviously it is quite moist at the moment, but it's nice and crumbly, so it's not too compacted. And then what you also look at is, you know, how deep those roots go down. So this is a plantain, and with the plantain roots, so they are quite a bit longer and thicker as well than the standard ryegrass.
Well, that's impressive.
But you know, they just grow out like those nets, you know, it's not the taproot like the chicory. So again, yeah, so you know, it's got a really, really big web of roots there, and then you can see the worms here in between, you know, working through that soil. That I was talking about, how we measure, you know, whether there's nitrogen leaching or how much nitrogen is leaching into the ground. So this is just the top that we see. This is this big centimeters down into the ground, and it goes to the side just to make sure that the soil above the cup is undisturbed. And so yeah, this is where we put our syringe. Then the first day we put a vacuum onto it, we leave it overnight, and then we come back the next day and take out the sample, and then we can analyze the sample for the amount of nitrogen that's in there. So yeah, that's what it looks like. And there's 300 of those things buried on the farm, so it's quite a big job when it needs to be done. It's getting done every 100 mils of drainage. So you know, when it's wet, we're pretty busy. And we always have one of the diverse paddocks paired with a conventional paddock. So they're getting, you know, treated exactly the same. They get the fertilizer at the same time. They're getting raised at similar times. Just, you know, to make sure that there's, we can say the nitrogen that's going through is actually comparable. So this is what we call like a lysimeter pit. This is what we call a lysimeter, and what a lysimeter is, it's just like a soil core. So these are soil cores, and they're surrounded by this metal tube, 80 centimeters down into the ground, completely sealed off from the surrounding soil. So when it rains, you know, the water hits the top and then it slowly goes through that soil core, the 80 centimeters of soil core, and you can see there's drums underneath, and they've got some water in it. So we collect it at the bottom. So then we know, you know, exactly all the water that's come here is draining through that soil core and straining through there, and we can measure how much is going through there. So, you know, we measure how much rain are we having, how much is going through. And we have some of those, so you can see this has got some plantain in it. So this is obviously like a diverse soil core, and then we have our conventional soil cores, and again we can then measure the differences between those two different pastures and what they're doing.
And are you finding differences?
Not yet. So these ones, they've only been installed last December, and it actually took until now for the water to go through those 80 centimeters. So 2 weeks ago was the first time that we actually sampled them, because we had that much drainage. But what we did see, it's, you know, early days, but we see, you know, the drainage appeared first in the conventionals, and then, so there was a lot less in the diverse. You kind of expect that, you know, with the longer roots, they obviously are able to suck up more water. Yeah. Cool.
That's real good.
first pasture's yellow and conventional is green. Same, I mean, we try to make it easy, obviously. You know, conventional paddocks, they have the green tag and the reverse has the yellow, just, you know, try to not confuse the farm team, because obviously it's important that it all stays separate. They're all, most of those herds, they're all always getting treated exactly the same. So, you know, they're all getting